You know what time it is? Tonight we are streaming again Sunday night. I've actually done this a couple of weeks in a row now, so I'm like feeling pretty regular about it. We actually have some. I can't believe I'm about to say it. We actually have some real Power Ranger news tonight. But we're going to be talking about some other things that I know a lot of us enjoy. We'll be talking X-Men. We'll be talking cosplay. We'll be talking the Acolyte in Star Wars, which seems to be like super controversial. And I'm just learning why, like as of recently, because I was in the dark about it. But real quick, I want to say hi to some of those in the chat. We got Sith Vengeance says new Power Rangers game looks exactly like TMNT Classic One. What platforms will it be on? We'll go over that, but it looks like it'll be on all of them. Black Knight Mom, what's going on? Steam Powered and other following. Nice. Josh Oderby says, you know what time it is. That Power Rangers guy says, hey, honey, go Morphin time. That Power Rangers guy is also Josh's wife. So, yeah, that's how that goes. Bobby Carlson, it's Morphin time. Got Mid Tennessee Geek. What's up, man? We got Tripping Over Toys saying howdy, everyone. And we got, I got Welcome in, everyone. I guess I'm really good at that. Common Writer War Robot says hi. Ranger Restoration Repair. And my lady cat Wanda's in the house. I thought she was supposed to be at work tonight, so good to see she's here. Classics by Candace saying happy Sunday, everyone. And then, of course, we got Tanya in here. Happy Monday from Australia. And then we got Eros 26 Studios. What's up, man? And No Serrano. Now, we actually have Yo is a Green. We'll talk about that, too, because I got a theory. We actually got a guest today. So a lot of you guys remember Ali B. So Ali B was on the stream when we did the Nostalgia Con promo, and we talked a lot about X-Men 97, and she was there with Dan and all that. Well, we're going to see the man behind the scenes. The reason Ali is B, and the reason is this guy right here, Tyler. What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Oh, man, those headphones are amazing.
Right? Thank you. Can you hear me good? I don't know if putting the headphones on.
Yeah, beautiful. I hear you a lot better than you were backstage. It sounds perfect.
Thank you.
So how are things going, man?
They're going great. Everything's wonderful. As you can tell, I obviously have to use the wife stuff to do this, which is awesome. But yeah, I am the reason Ali is B, because the B stands for my last name, which is Bishop, not boss ass bitch, like she likes to say.
Is that what she says?
She does say that, yeah.
Does, I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, guys, Tyler here. It's funny because I met Tyler at Retromania, which was in January.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I met Ali as well. And I feel like I just came up to you guys. It was about NostalgiaCon. I came up to you guys. And Tyler here is like a huge Power Rangers fan. It's just like when you meet somebody and you're like feeling each other out kind of thing. And then he just starts talking about Power Rangers Ninja Storm, and I was just like, where have you been all my life? And I remember I probably talked to you that entire weekend. We just had a lot of things that were related on, but one thing that you told me is that you had used to cosplay regularly, but you retired. Do you want to talk a little bit how you got into cosplay?
Yeah, so I got into cosplay, maybe 11 to 12 years ago. I bought a Green Arrow costume with my tax return, and I figured, I was like, this is going to be the next like 7 Halloweens with this costume. You know, I paid the money for it, like a legit one. I see you strolling through my Instagram there. It's an assortment of random things. There's my Red Hood. There's my Captain America. That's probably the one I'm most well known for now. For my last costume I did. So yeah, I got into that. And then from there, I got involved with some charity groups here in town with visiting children in the hospital. Basically, we're taking free comic book day to the kids. I graduated from Green Arrow to Captain America. And with that, I kind of stuck with that. But DC is my heart. So as you can see, there's my Nightwing. There's my Red Hood. I'm most proud, I think, of my Red Hood, just because he's one of my favorite characters. Nightwing, I don't really have the body for a bodysuit, but, you know, I've worn it. I did Ocean Master there.
I was about to say, dang, man.
Yeah. So of course, I owe everything to my lovely wife, Ali. She's made the majority of my costumes apart from what I've had to buy. So like that chest piece right there, she did that. Did the symbol itself. I got the helmet 3D printed. for WonderCon out in California. We basically picked it up in El Paso and headed out towards WonderCon. So that was where I debuted that. This picture was actually taken at one of the more phenomenal
Oh,
Comic Con, one of the more phenomenal shows. Yeah.
well, that's one thing I want to, because I see all the more phenomenal backdrop a lot in there, and you guys know that we have been talking about more phenomenal a lot, not only because well, it's in San Antonio and it's Power Rangers, and that's right up my alley, but Tyler, you've actually been working with them for like since the inception, right?
Since the beginning. Funny enough, I actually pressured Ali to do more phenomenal because I'm such a Power Rangers fan and I wanted to meet Power Rangers. So once they announced it, and they announced, I believe the first con had Silver Space, then had Nakia and Catherine,
Yeah.
and I was like, look, I have to meet these people. These are my favorite. One of my, a couple of my favorite seasons. There's another picture you could see of me wearing Ali's Mara wig, and right next to the Red Hood. Funny enough, so.
Oh, okay. I was like, which one has the wig?
That one right there. So, I mean, if you keep scrolling, you kind of see where we went through. There's a couple pretty cool costumes that we did, but yeah, I started with the more phenomenal. There was a couple from PAX where I did Red Dead Redemption. She did a mashup of Overwatch's Ash, and we just did some cowboys together.
Nice.
There's Deadpool trying to force feed me his Infinity Gauntlet of rings. Those a couple pictures we went to a con out, and yeah, that's one. It's his Infinity Gauntlet of the ring pops. That's my good buddy David there. He's actually the guy that married us. So he dressed up as Deadpool and married her and I. So there, it's coming up. That's out in Arizona. She did a Light Fury from How to Train Your Dragon 3, and of course there's my Captain America. So
that's cool. I see it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't like, we've talked about before, like, your involvement in the the con life, I guess you can call it, and the event life. Like, how did you become really, is it through cosplay you feel like you became more involved with that, or was that something that happened kind of beforehand? Oh, this is cool. I love that.
Yeah. Cosplay, and I used to work at one of the comic book shops here in town called Heroes and Fantasies. So with that, I got to travel a lot to different like movie theaters in town. We used to do a lot of stuff with Alamo Draft House. So I was driving down to Laredo every single time there was a movie, a comic book movie that came out. So we'd bring different comic book artists to the Draft House, and we do like a comic book night where they were doing prints, of course, for Deadpool. For I want to say it was X-Men Apocalypse was one of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Captain America's, Civil War, Batman versus Superman. So that was around the time that I was working for them. And then of course we did some of the big cons here in San Antonio. So that was really how I got involved in the con scene. And so this, I see you're going through it, and I'll try my best to stay on topic, but there's obviously pictures we want to talk about. Yeah, that's the guy David there who married us. He was dressed as Venom. It was at a free comic book day. But I'm a people person, man. I love to talk to people. I love to meet new people. So I think that's really how it got me started in the con scene. Is I just enjoy talking. So that one right there, it's the Batman one. So that's actually one of the costumes I think that we're most proud of. We did a whole 0 year Bat family.
Oh,
so we
that's
Batman,
awesome.
Nightwing,
Yeah,
Robin.
yeah.
So that was the first year's Greater Austin Comic Con.
Okay.
So that was the big group cosplay that we did, and then of course there's some more phenomenal stuff there.
Now you said you kind of retired from like you come back every now and then, but you kind of retire. Is there a reason you retired, or is it just kind of helping Allie a little bit more?
It's more helping her. It got to the point. Yeah, see, there you go. You see, Deadpool married us, and then of course our comic book themed cake. It was Nightwing and Wonder Woman. But yeah, it was to the point where she's obviously, this is her life, doing costumes and everything. I have a I have a grown-up's job. I have a real job, so I always go to help her out. And it was just to the point where it was really hard to keep track of my costume and her costume on top of her stuff, working at the booth. So I kind of just went back into the shadows as a handler, and the guy that carries the bag and the costume, and let her be the star of the show.
Well, she's definitely a star. I'll say that for sure. So she's awesome, guys, and obviously everyone here in the chat loves her as well. So Power Rangers. Now, Power Rangers. Obviously, I'm assuming you got to it as a kid, but what cultivated the love for Power Rangers?
Power Rangers, yeah, definitely. It started out as a kid. I watched every season, starting from Mighty Morphin through Zeo. I started kind of getting out of it because, once you start getting a little older,
Yeah.
You don't think it's as cool anymore. So, Ninja Storm is definitely one of my more favorite seasons, but I definitely kind of had to watch that without anybody knowing because, that was like, I guess, the Disney era. So it was like, yeah, I'm watching Power Rangers on Disney Channel. Didn't really sit, well with the cool kids. But what cultivated love for me, man, was I just know it definitely. I don't want to say I saw a lot of similarities with me and my friends, but it was one of those things where, whether you're grouping up with friends to hang out at the Peter Piper Pizza on the weekend, or you're grouping up with your friends to kick, intergalactic space villains, it's just, it was a sense of like community and friendship throughout. So I think I really like that. And of course, all of my friends were into it when we started. So that
did you start with Ninja Storm? You would have been started with
no,
Mighty Morphin.
no,
Mighty Morphin,
I started
right?
with Mighty Morphin. Yeah. I
Okay,
started with Mighty Morphin. Oh, look who it is.
Who look at it's wifey.
Yeah. I started with Mighty Morphin, but it was, I think, obviously that was 93 and I would have been, 3 years old.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really, I guess, paying enough attention. I didn't pay attention and actually understand anything till Zeo and Turbo.
Yeah.
And Turbo is definitely one of the more favorite seasons. I did see both movies in theaters though, so I did see the Mighty Morphin movie in theaters, and then I did see Turbo in theaters as well. So
dude, I really want to see them in theaters again. I mean, I know they had an event here a couple years ago, and we've talked about that before, but like, it's time for another one. Like, it really is, and I feel like the nostalgia is there right now for sure, especially with these seasons hitting 30. I mean, the movie's gonna be 30 years old next year.
yeah.
So, I mean, not only that, and just like that, and then if you watch one movie, then you got to watch them all. So, like,
Absolutely.
we gotta figure out some sort of screening here in San Antonio. If not, like, if we get to event somewhere else, figuring that also as well. The reason Allie is be laughing my ass off. We got Air Publications. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. Wanda, I want to thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate you. We got Nerd Affiliate in the house saying, "What's up, man?" So Ninja Storm is a top tier season. Ninja Storm is really, really good, and it's you can tell like with that Disney season they were trying to like still like experiment, and they were like, we want to do things different than Saban did. Like, it was very clear like they wanted to do something different, but like at the same time, like they were like, it was almost like, let's mature it up a little bit. And then I don't know what happened with the later seasons, and they were like, nah, just forget that. So I don't know what, like, I felt like Ninja Storm was definitely more mature than Wild Force. Maybe kind of on tier with Time Force a little bit. Time Force was a little bit starting to get more, cops and
Yeah. Well, Time Force Lightspeed Rescue was cool. It was such a weird season to me, I guess. I don't know. I never watched too much of the obviously the Japanese the originals, but rewatching Lightspeed, I was like, I could see what they were doing, but it was just felt weird to have like this whole like, hey, this is Power Rangers as like a first responder reactionary kind of thing versus like a force for good, intergalactic force for good.
But, I mean, well, so Lightspeed was different because it was the first time the team was essentially being like, this is what we know. We're not falling into the powers. We're all signing up to be here, sort of thing.
Right.
Like Lost Galaxy, even though like some of those guys were trained and they were soldiers and stuff like that, they didn't mean to get the powers. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of just happened. And then Time Force, I guess Time Force kind of had it, where they were trained to be rangers. They were trained to be rangers, but that ranger thing they weren't ready for. They were rookies coming into it as well.
Yeah, exactly. But they were, that's like SPD too, where they were, they were the B squad. They were like the team that has to sit on the bench the whole time, and then when they're actually called up for action, it was, which I did love SPD too, because their Red Ranger wasn't the guy who's been training his whole life to be, he was such a criminal, and then they were like, hey, join the police force or.
Yeah, I think SPD is starting to get looked back as one of those best seasons that's not MMPR, and I think it's I don't know why it's now getting more of its due. Maybe because those kids that watched it right now are now like old enough to like talk out about it and are probably content creators or speaking out but like that. But I feel like that was one of the seasons like a lot of people like really, really loved, and it was one of those seasons that they really could have like kept going. Like there's a couple seasons where like, now I'm glad that's over. You know what I mean? But like,
that's fair,
SPD, like, obviously at the end we have Sky as the Red Ranger. Jack and Z are, Jack goes his own way, and Z is on the team now. So it was definitely like they could have done something different with that. Real quick, just want to say hi. We got Corey Willis saying yo. We got Cody Aruda saying hello, Legacy. Hope all is well with you. How are you doing this evening? I'm doing good. We had a good day today. Me and the family went to the zoo, and it was sort of the first time my daughter like understood what was going on a little bit, and she was like interacting like with some of the animals. She loved the aquarium. Like that was like the thing. So we might be going to another aquarium in a couple of weeks because she had a lot of fun with that. And then she's walking now. If any of you guys wanted an update on that, so she started walking this week, and now she decided that she's an Olympic sprinter. So she's running all around the house, and she's trying to keep her feet underneath her, but she's tripping really easily. So we've had some really interesting falls. This one where she kind of like turned into a boat. She was just like rocking back and forth. So it was cool though. But she was trying to walk around at the zoo today, but like we didn't want her like just falling down on the floor and deciding to crawl. So we're kind of being careful with that. So I'll be going to see Deadpool and Wolverine theaters on July 28th. I really hope that is. We'll talk about that tonight, actually. Sentai Ranger Don is saying, Legacy of Nerd. Hello, Dan, Tyler, and all. Hope everyone is well this evening. And hope you were well, too. I appreciate you being here. We got Raymond DaCosta say, see you in August. So I met him in NostalgiaCon. And he's from
nice.
Laredo. I want to say Laredo. So he had just learned about More Phenomenal at NostalgiaCon. And then I think he was thinking about going to Morphicon. And then they announced Barai. And then I remember I got a comment from him and said, well, guess I'm going to San Antonio now. So
yeah,
I've been getting a lot of those comments, man. Yeah,
it's such a great con.
It is. I know. Last year was my first time being there, and they had like 15 guests, and I think like 12 Rangers. And I know that was, and they were told me like that's not something that usually happens, right? So I know this year, Adam, we talked about this a couple times, but Adam had said like he really wanted to do something more intimate, more smaller. And then he got Barai, and then I just feel like everything's changed since then. So, at least, especially like a lot of guys, there's a lot of people messaging me asking like information about More Phenomenal, like what I know. And so, I mean, of course, I'm referring them to More Phenomenal, but I'm saying like when I start getting comments like that, like a lot, I get a lot, and sometimes even some messages as well, which I'm happy to understand. Respond to messages. I just have to make sure you're not a bot first, so don't feel bad if I don't respond right away. Hero Made Podcast says, hi, Dan. Tyler, big fan. Would love to have you as a guest soon. Awesome, man. Tyler's more of a professional than I am, I have to say.
No, I'm not a professional. I just like to talk. How about that? I'll talk to, put me in front of a computer and with a microphone, and I'll talk to anybody, man. So
is there going to be more surprise guests? So there's definitely one big surprise coming. It's different though. It's not necessarily what you would think it would be. But
it's cool.
As far, it's definitely cool, and you're gonna love it if you're gonna be there. As far as guests, like we said, this was supposed to be a small con this year. Maybe he said maybe 1 or 2, and that's it. And so we're already getting close to August, and we got like the Dragon Ranger who wasn't even supposed to be here, and now he's gonna be here in San Antonio. So we're kind of like just happy with it. A lot of people are, and we're trying to also like be cognizant of like we know people like will have so much money to do this and that, and we don't want to put so much in front of you, like where it's kind of crazy, but because we know a lot of people are gonna have we know the guests that they're going to have a lot of things to sign for, so we're kind of keeping thought of that as well. Power Rangers Rita Rewind. So this is the big announcement that we got. Was it yesterday? Was it last night? Was it last night? It was yesterday. It was yesterday during the day. Did you get to see the trailer for this?
The Summer Games Fest, right? That's when they dropped.
Yeah, I think it was the IGN thing, right?
Yeah, so that was Friday, I believe.
It started Friday.
Yeah.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. Anyways, so did you get to watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer. It's cool, man. It reminds me of the old SNES game.
Yeah. It reminds me of that. It reminds me of a lot of people talk about Shredder's Revenge, which just came out recently. But of course, like Shredder's Revenge was really based on those old Ninja Turtle arcade games. So it's really like arcade-ish. So like, we'll start with you, Tyler, because I have thoughts. So what are your thoughts about this game existing?
It's awesome. I know. I I think I feel like a lot of people. I relate to a lot of people when they say that, hey, move on from Mighty Morphin, do something
Yeah,
else, just because it's. But I understand where it was a lot of people's introduction to it. It's a lot of the one that where if someone's like, hey, I've never heard of Power Rangers before. I've obviously been under a rock for the last 30 something years of my life, and you
yeah.
show them a season, you show them Mighty Morphin, because that's definitely the kickoff. And I understand why they're doing it, but I would have loved to see another season, any of other season, maybe like the way that they're do in the trailer, how they have like on the side, on the power cycles, and they're going through the city. If you had done space and you have them on like, the gliders, or I'm sorry if I can't remember
Yeah.
whatever, the little surfboards in space, or just something else. Like, I think it's cool. I'm excited for it. Because I'm not the biggest like co-op team player on gaming. I'm a
Mhm.
pretty much single player, but something like this,
Yeah.
it just brings back that nostalgia of, again, hanging out with your friends on a Friday night. So
Well, I think it's good. So I want to start kind of with like the business aspect of it first, right? So we did not think we were going to get anything this year. This was going to be like an off year for Power Rangers all in general, right? I know, we had known in January there was going to be some products and stuff like that. There was going to be like not necessarily from like Lightning Collection or Hasbro, but like licensed out and stuff like that. Especially with the announcement with Playmates taking over the toys for Power Rangers. And to be clear, I know everybody thinks that Playmates now has the toy rights. They do not have the toy rights. Hasbro is basically renting out the toy rights to Playmates. So uh, basically, they're going to probably get a percentage of whatever Playmates makes, plus Playmates has to pay them a fee for using the brand and all together. So it's an easy way for them to make money without having to do anything, which I've talked about before. Like if you're going to own an IP and you're going to rely on somebody else to do their toys all together, like I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's kind of lazy. But this game normally would not be for me. Like I would want like Arkham style, Halo style, like
Arkham
way
style.
way more like graphics, way more story driven, right? And that's because obviously like I played these when I was a kid, and I've played them all a million times, and these are all the same to me essentially, right? So and it's not to knock anyone that does enjoy them, but here's what I'm going to swerve on everyone because everyone thinks I'm talking negatively about it. I think it's great. I think it's great for the brand. These are very very popular right now. These beat 'em up games, these
Mm-hmm.
16-bit games are doing really really well market wise, and an easy way of not spending a lot of money on a product but having a high yield return on it, which I think is great. So do I like what this game is going to be in particular? No, it's not. It's because it's not for me. That's what it is. Like it's not my thing. At the same time, I think it's really really good, and it was a really good refreshing time or thing to have when we thought we were going to have nothing. And it tells me right now that Hasbro is like, we're not just like done with this, right? Like we
Yeah.
are going to put some time in it because I thought they were going to put nothing into it this year. So the fact that we are getting this, I am happy about that. I understand there was a little thumb that went. I don't know how my FaceTime thing works on my laptop, and I'm using the camera. So you'll get like a celebration and fireworks. So it'll happen. But I think from a brand perspective, I think it's great. I normally wouldn't play this except for one thing, and it appears to have um, Robo Rita in it, which they talk about this being an issue of time and time travel, and of course we see the Green Ranger cart there. So one, if we all remember correctly, the
I think it's
part
near the end
is
with
it near
Robo
the
Rita.
end?
Yeah.
Okay, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the whole point of Robo Rita was that she was trying to go back in time to stop for the Power Rangers from even forming in the first place. So she would just win, right? So is this a continuation of Once and Always, or is this going to be like a what if Rita did win on Once and Always? What do you think entirely?
Well, it can't be, because at the very beginning, isn't the anime? I mean, the character models, isn't Trini there, and isn't Jason, and it's not Rocky.
So I think. Yes. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking this is starting from the timeline of the original Rangers, and then we're going to see Robo Rita enter the issue, like become the issue in this game, right?
gotcha. Okay.
Which is the question is, did she survive once and always, or is this a self-contained story on its own?
I don't know if
Here we go.
if the developers of the game have that much forethought.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe it
not.
is just a self-contained maybe a self-contained story. Maybe it was something that they obviously liked the Robo Rita character from once and
Mhm.
always, and they're like, hey, maybe let's throw her in this the game, because obviously it doesn't
Yep.
take. I mean, no disrespect or discredit to anybody that makes a video game, but obviously some sort of this game doesn't take as long as a much larger, like you're talking about, Arkham style game. So
Yeah.
this could have been something that once with the instant success that Netflix had with that, they could have just already
Like throw
started
in the
working on this.
character. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I mean, I think there's going to be some story element. I'm really, really curious to see if this is almost like some way intertwined with Once and Always, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, Robo Rita's there, so they have to have some sort of
Something.
reason for her to be there, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not expecting like a big animation thing. Like, I'm really expecting like read they show us this image and that you have to read the screen sort of thing, but kind of like and is it considered canon would be the question. So
Yeah.
again, we don't know. Robo Rita being there kind of like throws everything off because they could have just made this game and be like, it's a Power Rangers game, have regular Rita in it, and be okay with it. But the fact that they threw in Robo Rita almost makes me think like there's a little bit more story to this game or that they want to be told. And like you said, since it's not a lot of takes, a lot of budget goes into these games, it would also be easy just to do it and just to say we did it. You know what I mean? Like that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking as well.
But it would have been cool too. It'd be cool too that if this is a game that they have plans to update, to maybe
Yeah.
continue a story, maybe bring in something from the Boom Studios comics where you have some of these other characters, whether again it's the Ranger Slayer and whatnot for
Yeah.
the upteam time, or I just think that it has the potential to create its own universe or to expand on the other universes in a game form.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing about that is okay, well, so you're talking about bringing in Boom Studios and stuff like that, and we got this comment here is this game looks fun as hell. I hope Tommy is an unlockable character. Unlockable character. So one thing that we didn't see is Tommy in this. We saw the green cart that we saw earlier, and that's it. But as far as Tommy or the Green Ranger being involved, he's not in here. Now, what do you think about that? What is your opinion?
You have to have a Green Ranger, whether
Yeah.
it's Tommy or if they're doing something different with a successor, to kind of put the Tommy character to rest.
Mhm.
You can't not have the Green Ranger. It's just I feel it wouldn't be Power Rangers wouldn't be as popular as it would be today without the inclusion of the Green Ranger. Um,
So I think
that's
they're
yeah.
I think he is in the game and he
Oh
might be
yeah.
unlockable or whatever, but I think they're being really careful on how they market JDF related things. So
Yes.
a lot of people are like, is Green Ranger not in the game or is he unlockable? Like, I mean, he could be, he might be. I think it has more to do right now with Hasbro being careful. Like they don't want to be called like, oh, you're using JDF to market your
Right.
game, right? And I kind of think it's more of that than like, oh, he's not in the game or whatever. I like he could very well be, and I could see like Dragon Zord be unlockable
Yeah.
or like maybe like Ultra Zord with the Dragon Zord, like different combinations, something like
Yeah.
that. If that's the situation that's going on, because one of the gameplay was like you're the Tyrannosaurus and you're going through like the desert and killing like big monsters and stuff. So which is
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
then there was like the Mike Tyson's Punch Out style or something where it looks like where you're
Yeah.
like the first person of the Zord, the Megazord. But
Yeah.
I I honestly think that I mean I feel like it's one of those things where it's everybody knows the Green Ranger is going to be in it, so you're right. They're not putting themselves in a situation where people can call them out for
Yeah.
just being a cash grab by using the late JDF kind of thing. But I feel like it's one of those things with the guys like he's going to be in it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And if not, like
Eventually.
eventually, and
Yeah.
whether, and they also, I can't think where they do where they add on like DLC and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like extra levels and stuff like that. Elder Romero brought up a good point here. There was a gap between the creation of Robo Rita and the Rangers final battle with her. This game could be in between that gap. It could be. I mean, they were
Hmm.
saying she went to the dark dimension at that time, and the whole thing was like she was building the time machine, and the Rangers had stopped her. So, I mean, if she was like doing something between, like, then she would have had like ample opportunity to do it. So that's my only thing with that.
Yeah.
Josh says, please share them DMs to whoever you're trying to share them. Top. I'm not sure what he meant that. Oh, two. Separate timeline or what if storyline.
See, I like the what if storyline.
I like the what if storyline too,
Yeah.
because then it opens up like a can of worms, and I totally am
Yeah.
cool with that.
Well,
Tommy, this will be first DLC if the game does well. I think he's already planned. Like, I think
yeah,
even if it is DLC, it's a planned DLC.
But I also feel like, to your point about him being like, them using his name and getting, criticized for a cash grab, I feel like if they make him a DLC or a paid DLC, they're gonna get the same sort of flack where they're like,
that's a good point.
Now you're just charging $199 for that. So
that's a good
I feel
point.
like that's what it has to be. He's
just in the game, they're just not marketing it.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And this is a good point too. Who do you think will be doing the voice acting if there is some? I think it'll be nobody's. I think yeah. So the word on the street is they spent $300,000 on this trailer, and for them to be on IGN, which is like, I feel like that may have been the budget of the video game.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I
could
don't
say,
know.
Either that or to pay all the, hopefully that's not AI art, but either that or to pay all the artists to do those, the sick cutscenes like that, because that's some great art, man. I do like the art from that. So,
I mean, I have to go. I'm gonna go back to this. I think this looks really good. I don't know. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I hate this," but I was like, it just looks so different than what we're used to, and I'm so for different right now because I feel like we've seen the same things from Boom Comics. From I know Dan Mora is an amazing artist. He's a great guy, but we've seen the same designs for like I feel like 15 years now, right? And then even before that, the Rangers had the same kind of like cartoonish designs before that, and just to see a different take. I don't know if anyone read it, but Godzilla versus Power Rangers, it kind of reminds me of this, but less. I feel like Godzilla versus Power Rangers had like a paintbrush to it effect to it. This is just more like drawn on digital art. But I love the way this looks, and the fact that they look familiar to the actors, but not exactly the same. I like that too. Like, I don't need to see every single time. Like, I have to see. I can't see Austin St. John in there. I'm okay with that. That's Jason. I can see that. That's Tree and Billy, Kimberly, and Zach. Zach looks way more buff there than
I was gonna say that Zach looks swole,
and
man.
taller too.
I was like, so, he's a unit, man. That's what it was like. Zach's a unit at that.
It's funny.
Point.
I think David is the tallest out of the three guys here. So like, but yeah, like I love the way the art is going with this. Like you say, it could be AI. I mean, I know there's a lot of people's thoughts on in AI. The reality is it's here. And it's not going away. And I don't know. There's some guy that said recently that said your AI is not taking jobs away. You're losing jobs to the people that know how to do it. It's sort of something like that. And I was like, but that's the reality. I mean, you may not like it, but it's it's the reality of it. Wasn't it JD's son a while back we saw that we sounded so much like, yeah, he did. He has some issues, which is why we probably won't ever see him working on Power Rangers or anything like that. So, Noel says, wish they could do a show like that art. I mean, like, yeah, I see what you're saying here, and they just got to do it. That's the thing. And, I don't know, Tyler, if you think an animated Power Rangers series would work, what do you think?
I think it'd be awesome. There's a lot of stuff that you can do animated that I think maybe cost a little bit less to do than having to do some of the CGI or even to try to do practical. I look at stuff like the Arcane series that was the League of Legends TV show that they did, and I mean it was phenomenal. The art was amazing on that show, but at the same time, I think the first season came out in 2020, 2021, and the second season's not coming out till this November. So the fact is to do a whole, whether it's a 9 episode, 10 episode season, with that art style takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it
So
does.
if you guys are down for waiting a couple of years in between seasons, then absolutely an animated show would be phenomenal.
I mean, it depends, and it depends also like it depends on the budget and how much resources they're doing into it. You know what I mean? Like we saw that. I want to think like Masters of the Universe kind of reminds me of that too. Like
Mm-hmm.
Revelations, that came out,
Yeah.
but it took like a year and a half to make, almost two, and the sequel took like a year and a half as well. But then again, you got X-Men '97, which is a machine, but obviously that's backed by Disney, and
Yeah.
that we're gonna get season two probably before the end of this year, which is
Yeah.
insane. So to have two seasons in 1 year, that's an animated show, like it's like South Park level, because
And
South
then
Park has
it's
a supercomputer to do it. That's why.
yeah, and then X-Men 97 is going to tank.
Because
But that's
that's totally what's gonna happen,
oh,
man.
it
That means
is. I feel like it is, man. I hate to say it. I love the show, but they got rid of Bo DeMaio, the guy that wrote the seasons 1 and season 2. They got rid of him like the day the show came out for some stuff, and I think that now that whoever they had has some big shoes to fill
yeah.
for a season 3 if they do a season 3. So
Well, I mean, we know season two is gonna be fine because it's gonna be
oh
the
yeah, because he
same.
wrote it. Yeah, so
Exactly.
same guy. So
The question is what's gonna happen with season three.
yeah, for sure.
So going back, because somebody had asked a question earlier about the what console is going to be on. It's going to be on all of them. So it's going to be on Switch, PS5, Xbox. It's going to be on like a streaming, like is it called Steam? I'm not sure. I'm
Steam.
not a game.
Yeah,
It's going to be on Steam. It's going to be on PC. It's going to be on every possible way for you to be able to play it. Now, I've heard a lot of complaints from the community, and it's just our fandom is just the way it is, and it's a fandom. But a lot of them wanted like the Arkham, like I wanted, right? And that's fine. And the thing is, the reality is, I'm still gonna play this game because I'm really curious what's gonna happen in the story. Like
yeah. I
I
want to
want
see
to
the
see what,
story. Yeah,
yeah, I want to see the story, and I want to know if it's canon. I want to know if it's like a continuation of Once and Always. I want to know if it's a what if. I just want to know what's going on. And you know what? Anything like I said, it's not for me, but I can sit there and mindlessly play something for like an hour. But yes, I want the Arkham. I want Project Nomad. That's what I want. I absolutely want that. But we don't have. I am also in under. I am realization that we don't have the demand for it. There's not a demand for it, right? Like we want it because we're Power Rangers fans and we would absolutely love that. But we're
yeah,
such a minority. Spider-Man
yeah.
had the demand for it. Batman had the demand for it. Suicide Squad did have the demand for it until the actual game came out. But Halo has the demand for it. Like all these games with like, Super Elder Ring, whatever, they all have like this pre-installed like we know we're going to make $1 billion on this game, right? And they already had that because of that. But Power Rangers doesn't really have that anymore. And I think this is the step to getting there. You know what I mean? And it's in the first game we might not get like game of the year attention to it, right? But if we get to this game and it does well, and they say they do another beat 'em up game and it does well, it's gonna say like, okay, this thing's selling. Let's put some more money into it and see what we can really do. And that's where we get our Project Nomad. That's where we get like, an open world game or more involved than just Mighty Morphin. And I know people are just tired of Mighty Morphin, like you talked about earlier. But the reality of it is that it sells, and
For
SPD
sure.
doesn't sell,
No,
Ninja Storm
absolutely.
doesn't sell,
Yeah.
Dino Thunder doesn't sell,
Yeah.
and I know it sells with you guys because we love it and we know
Yeah.
it. But to the casual person, it doesn't. And the reality is, this Rita's Rewind will, and that's why we're always going to get Mighty Morphin.
Oh, I
And
feel that. Yeah, I agree.
the goal is to get to a point where we're going to have a big budget Mighty Morphin game that has cameos that from like Boom or SPD or just like they may not be a big integral part of the story, but we might get like, oh, okay, there's the Astro Mega ship, or they're talking about I can't even think of Terra Venture or something like
Yeah.
that. Those are where we get that, and that's how we get there. The reality is we got to show up and pay our money. We got to show that we want this game. People seem to like it. People seem to want it. Buy it. Buy it. Buy the DLCs. Show them that you're enjoying it, and they're going to put more money into it. I
Mm-hmm.
know we tried that with Lightning Collection, but this is a different media. Maybe we can do something different here. So
Yeah.
going through some of these comments before we move on to the next topic. It depends on the team you have. Many animated shows pump out episodes quickly. Just needs to set up a good base. That's true. That is very true.
For sure.
Speaking of South Park, I watched the latest special on Paramount Plus. Fun stuff. I haven't seen South Park since I think the COVID special. It's been a while. Hi, Legacy there. My name is Ryan Quinnen. Huge fan of Power Rangers 2. Awesome, man. Glad you're here. Yeah, animation takes so much time unless you have a crazy money, which I agree. That Austin St. John character in the red, I believe. Yep. Plus gaming. I got to find that picture before.
He didn't get killed off.
Well, I mean, he got eliminated from the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, the rest of the season, but
William
Homie's coming back.
It's clear he's coming back. Hello, good evening, all. Bo DeMeyer wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds before that as well. I am not a big Star Trek guy. Are you?
So I started watching I don't know if was it Strange New Worlds? Maybe the chat can correct me here, but the one with Pike, as Anson Mount as Pike, because I'm a massive fan of Anson Mount from when he was on there was an AMC show called Hell on Wheels where he played like this. Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say Crossroads, but that was just me.
I was actually gonna say Crossroads. I 100% was gonna say Crossroads, man. The one movie that I can somehow remember with Britney Spears and Anson Mount and I think it was Zoe Saldana and
that's right. She was in that.
And I don't know the chick's name, but I know that she was she played the little meth addict the bad guy in Orange Is the New Black.
Tara
Pennsatucky, yeah, Tara something.
Yep. Tara.
There you go. Yeah, Discovery. That was what it was. Yeah, Nerd Affiliated said Discovery. That's the one it was. I started watching that one. Yeah.
One thing about Anson, I didn't realize like how short that guy was. Like that dude is like 5'1". Like he should play Wolverine. Like
yeah.
I didn't realize I was. Where is that? Before we get to X-Men, where is that picture that you took on everyone's lap?
It's on Ali's. It's on Ali's page.
Because we're gonna pull that up here. Okay, all right, I got it. So we're gonna pull up. So we're gonna talk about X-Men '97, guys. So I know you guys have been hyped for it, or we're hyped for it. It's already way past it, but I know everyone wants to talk about it. But what was your thoughts on it, Tyler, of X-Men '97? Because I talked to Ali about it for like an hour, but what do you think about it?
It's good. So I am not a serious person, like at all. And it was so hard to not smile.
You guys, he's clearly smiling there. I don't know if you can see. I like how Ali's just looking at you like, you MFer. You were supposed to take out the trash tonight, and look at you now.
Yeah. And also, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'1". I'm not big as any such, but I'm a big dude. So the fact is, I know that none of those 3 people could hold me up. So all of my weight is on my leg, and I'm laughing because they're like, "Oh, like we got you." And Maddie
over here, all the work.
Who's the X-Men Evolution rogue. I was like, there ain't no way in hell is she like picking my ass up off the ground if I fall. And I was like, I know Ali, my wife can't. But yeah, it was one of those ones where I was legitimately like laughing. And then of course they're like, stop laughing and stop. And it was making me laugh more because they were all so.
Oh, there's Ali. There's enough. There we go. I was like, okay. So yeah, that was he's one of the Con Culture podcast guys, right?
Yeah.
Professor X.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's Trey.
And then
he does an amazing Happy Hogan cosplay from
really
like look, if you go to his page, he's the right there, the Professor X. Click on his stuff. We'll go down this rabbit hole real quick because he's been up at he was up at Fan Expo in Dallas and he's been posting some stuff. He does a phenomenal. Oh, his Robotnik, chef's
that's
kiss,
good.
man.
Let's see what we can find.
Yeah, there you go. He did a. Yeah, so that's his Happy Hogan, man, and he'll go around with a badge from Iron Man 3 and always be like, "Yeah, ID."
That's funny, dude.
Yeah, he's good people for sure.
What were your thoughts on X-Men '97?
X-Men '97, I had to refresh myself because I hadn't obviously I watched it in the '90s, and obviously it wasn't on Disney Plus till Disney Plus became a thing, so I kind of had to refresh myself. I liked it. I liked that they to me, they did what Marvel, I think, had been trying to do for the last 20 something years or whatever, however long the movies have been out, of trying to make like a universe matter. Hey, look at that. Yeah. You want like make a universe successful. And I think that they were able to do that with an animation medium versus the actual live action medium. I remember there was a point in time where they said that all of the Marvel shows and movies were connected. But yet, if you watch Daredevil, if you watched any of that stuff, they never mentioned the movies. They never mentioned any of the characters. So it was one of those things where I think X-Men succeeded in that, and they were able to tell stories. And yeah, I mean, the Hero Made podcast, he just commented saying it's the best cartoon since Young Justice, and I absolutely agree. Is that they were to tell
Young
real
Justice
raw
season 1 and 2.
stories.
Let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Well,
season 1 and 2. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a phenomenal show, and I think they knocked it out of the park with it. I'd like to see them do other 90s shows, like maybe revitalize the Spider-Man or even the Iron Man one. That was what I actually kind of kicked my nerddom was the Iron Man TV show. So
I remember, so one thing when X-Men 97, like we were talking about, like you had to refresh yourself. When I started watching it, I didn't realize how much I actually remembered. And that kind of scared me. But yet at the same time, it was kind of like, this show really stuck with me as a kid because I remembered like everything about Morph and, him dying, him coming back, and then having the issues like the identity crisis. And then at the end, like that's the reason he's the beginning of this season because he was there at the end of the last episode.
Right.
I even remember those weird ones with like, Wolverine and Storm were from a different, universe and the black costumes and stuff. They're like, go watch those episodes because you probably don't remember. I was like, I remember them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like just a lot of stuff. Colossus, they introduced Magique, slowly. The Nightcrawler episode. There's a lot that I remembered, and I think it did. One thing I said, with Ali and Kat and Dan was that, it's one of those shows that like, we all watched as a kids, and it was with us as kids, and then it's like it grew up, and then we like reintroducing ourselves to it. And we talked about like, my daughter, me having my daughter now, and then Cyclops and Madeline dealing with Nathan and having to like how much that killed me and made me emotional because thinking of that like in my own situation, like if I had ever had to and never would want to in a million years. But like, that is one thing, and I think that I really appreciate the show. And real quick, I want to say hi to Patrick Sky. We got the most famous Power Rangers cosplayer in the world here, just saying hi. But as far as season 2 coming up, I was really surprised. I think the one thing I was so surprised on, no, you're good, is and you can tell me what you were surprised about as well, was like I never in a million years thought we would see on an animated X-Men show Magneto rip out Wolverine's adamantium.
No, they did it. They did it.
And almost and not exactly like the way
right
that
now again chills, man, like chicken skin again, just because of that stuff. Yeah,
I remember I sort of got a little spoiled on it, but like someone said, because I had just read I was like it was just like that panel, and I was like, I wonder what they're talking about that. And then I was like, I can't watch it. Like I literally watched it maybe like at 10 a.m. I took my lunch hour like way stupid early, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I can't believe they did that. Like I was like, just and the panel wasn't exactly the same as the comic, but like the people were the same poses and stuff like that. It was just like, oh my god. And it as far as where we get to like see, and I don't think they're gonna do Dog Logan or like they might do this version of Onslaught, but we're not gonna see like everything that Logan went through to get his adamantium back.
Yeah, but there's some stories I don't think they're gonna touch just for time constraints and maybe just trying to still keep it a general audience.
Yeah. Hold on. There was something about X-Men. Not that the Marvel has a great record compared to DC. That's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, DC has some great cartoons, but their last ones have been misses.
Which one? You're talking about the Tomorrowverse ones?
Yeah, the Tomorrowverse ones. Yeah.
Yeah. They were still better than a lot of the Marvel ones as of recently. Like Marvel was
for sure.
Marvel was like epic. Like that whole cartoon era in the 90s and early 2000s was like full of just like things that became so legendary, like X-Men 97.
Did you ever watch the Spider-Man cartoon that was on MTV?
Yes, with Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Doogie
but it was
Howser.
like that. But it was like that cell animation style one.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was
Yeah,
supposed to be like based off the movie and kind of like they
yeah,
look like Toby
but it
a
was
little bit, James
dark, dude.
Franco.
It was dark.
It was good. There was a Fantastic Four one also. Like
Uh-huh.
I feel like I had even less episodes than the Spider-Man one, but like we look at animated series like Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, Superman, Animaniacs. Like I don't even freaking going into early 2000s, Pokemon and Digimon, like that whole era of like animation
Yeah.
in history has to be one of the best. Just being realistic, like I don't think, and I know like these are great. I still think Avatar: The Last Airbender is the most perfect animated show that has ever existed, but these shows like had to get them there. You know what I mean? Like there is
Oh
no
yeah.
way you got Avatar: The Last Airbender without Spider-Man or X-Men and
Oh,
or
without a
Batman
doubt.
or
Yeah.
Batman for sure. Um. So what do you expect for season two? Because I have no freaking clue where they're going with season two. Like I had an
Uh,
idea until like that last like couple of minutes, and that's
so
it.
Apocalypse, clearly.
Well, besides that, but I mean, like obviously we know Apocalypse is going to be an issue in the past and in the present.
Yeah.
You can always tell how great or trash a nice cartoon would be based on the opening theme. It was good. You're in a treat. If it was bad, it was destined for UPN 9 channel on Sunday mornings.
Look, man,
I like
there's a
UPN 9.
yeah, UPN wasn't bad, but there's a little exception with that comment. The Iron Man show, the first couple episodes were hard to get through, and I just started rewatching it. But that season, I mean, that soundtrack, that opening scene, it's awesome. It's a great opening soundtrack. It's hokey, but it's a great theme song. But it's a hard watch those first few episodes.
Well, the one I remember a lot that people, or the one that people talk about a lot that I sort of barely remember is Silver Surfer. And I remember there was a cartoon. I just don't remember ever watching it. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah,
I've seen people comment like, why don't you include Silver Surfer in here? It's like, because I don't remember it. Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and I don't know if Silver Surfer is one of those characters that can like, I don't know. I mean, I know
Oh,
he's
Silver
had his own
Surfer is
comic book.
but he's a huge character. He's
Yeah,
the him and Galactus. I mean, he's the guy that's tied to Galactus, but I mean, Silver Surfer is a massive character.
I know, I agree.
So
It just seems as a leading character, it's always been
yeah.
difficult, like
Oh, for
for
sure.
him. Like I feel like he's had so many different volumes of his comic book starting, and starting, stopping, and
Yeah.
he seems like one of those things like, oh, he's there, something crazy is about to happen, and when you have like a full series on him, it's like it's hard to keep it crazy all the time, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's
I
what I
think
think Marvel doesn't do right is they'll put stock. I think they saw the success of Iron Man. Sorry to cut you off. With like the movie, and they started putting stock in a lot of characters, like side characters, and it hasn't really panned out for them in the comic wise. So
I mean,
not everybody could be a hit.
yeah, that's true. I mean, they put a lot of work into Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, because those were not pre
Mm-mm.
MCU. Those were not the interesting characters. Like
No,
it was the X-Men. It was always the X-Men, Wolverine, any
Spider Man.
Spider-Man,
Yeah,
and really that's sort of it. You know what I mean? And when the MCU started, they didn't have all their properties, so they had to build. And I remember they did Secret Invasion, where they made Iron Man way more relevant. Thor has always been like weird in the comics because like he had like this Donald Blake persona, and then it was
yeah.
like, was he Thor, Donald Blake? And it was kind of always confusing. He's died like a million times.
And then you throw Better Ray Bill in, and you're like, whoa, now he's a horse.
But also even bringing in that other guy, was it Eric? The one that was that wore the jacket all the time as Thor. So like
Oh yeah,
there's been different like versions of Thor and the way he's been portrayed, and then even recently, with Jane, like being Thor as well.
The Mighty Thor. Yeah,
Exactly. So I know they did that in the show too, or the movie, but like it was in the comics, like it was different. Like she was Thor. Like there
yeah,
wasn't like it wasn't Jane Thor. Like she was Thor, and
yeah.
it's the way the comics work as far as the Thor mantle goes.
Well, it's funny because I was actually I was working in the comic book shop when that happened, and they were like, the way they described it to us was like, okay, so Thor is a title. Thor is not a person. Thor is a title, and whoever
Yeah,
has the power of Thor is
is
Thor.
Thor.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense, but what are you gonna call him now, Steve? Like it doesn't. So
What
I
did
mean,
they
he's
call him?
still
They call him the unworthy or something.
Thor. Yeah, the unworthy Thor, and it's like, okay, he's
Yeah.
still Thor. Like so,
And does he have an arm? Does he not have an arm? Like what's going
yeah.
on? Like they go back and forth with that all the time. he's like Aquaman to like DC. He's like they're always changing his like background and stuff like
Well,
that.
they changed him to look like Momoa. I mean, he's still a white guy in the comics with blonde hair, but he's got
Yeah,
tattoos.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, there was that pirate version of Aquaman too. Justice League Unlimited and Batman. Yep, agreed.
Batman
Another
Beyond, man.
Batman Beyond.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember watching that back then. I remember thinking, I just want to see Bruce. And now, like, I think I rewatched it a couple years ago, and I was like, I appreciate this way more now. You know what I mean? Like, just the fact that we got it, that we should have never gotten it.
But even they went crazy in there too, man. They made was it the movie that made like Tim Drake the Joker?
Yeah,
So I
that
was
was
like,
messed up, dude.
oh, well,
I
let's
think
go.
so. I remember watching because I think Batman Beyond, like, I was starting to get older. Like, the kind of the same time with like Pokemon, Digimon. A lot of the stuff that I watched back then was because I was babysitting my little brother, so I watched what he watched, right? So I did, and Pokemon, Digimon, like, I remember a lot, but it was like I was watching him while watching it. Um, Batman Beyond, I think we watched less episodes of that than anything else. But I remember the movie being like on HBO or something and catching it,
Mm.
and I think I caught the end where it was like Tim, this old man that they're calling Tim Drake, turning into the Joker, and I was like, this is messed up. Like, this is really, really messed up. And then like Terry was like was just messing with him and almost trolling him at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like, oh, Bruce is so boring. I laugh. I'll mess with you. I talk. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is what kind of made me go back and appreciate Batman Beyond a little bit more.
Was that before you realized who Tim Drake actually was in the comics?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
No, I know who Tim Drake. So no,
Okay,
I know.
okay.
Like, I've been a Batman reader. Honestly, like my parents. Okay, let me start back. My uncle used to take care of me when I was little, like and summers and stuff like that. My parents couldn't afford daycare, and he would take me every single week to the comic book store, and we get comics, and then he'd get like a pizza or something, and we go home and he'd read the comics to me and eat pizza. And so that's how I got into comics. And I got my dad into comics because he saw I liked it, right? And so my dad started buying me comics when it was not summertime. So like I have the first appearance of Tim Drake. I have like, the Death of Superman comics. I have the Lightning Bolt, the blue Lightning Superman.
Mm.
I have the issue where Wolverine loses his adamantium. Like, I have all these things. And so I'm like really, really familiar with the comics. The thing is, when you're younger, you don't read them
Yeah.
because you're looking at the pictures, and that's what I remember
Right.
is the pictures. I went back later on and read them as an adult, but and realized like how like I should not my dad should have not been buying these things at all. But like I'm pretty familiar with most of the comics. What that was in particular is I didn't know what I was watching, and I didn't know that Tim Drake
Yeah.
was an old guy, and
Yeah.
like they were doing it because I remember Batman Beyond was like very like it had old man Bruce and that was it. Like they were really disassociating from that original Batman mythos from
Yeah. I know I want you to move on to the Acolyte here, but can I say one thing about
absolutely.
Kevin Conroy?
Yeah.
I one of the first fan expos that Ali and I went up to, he was there as a guest, and I like to meet these people that are like celebrities like in my childhood. I like to say, hey, big fan. I'm not one of the ones that like has to go up and get an autograph or get a picture with them. I just want to kind of meet them and tell them how they affected my life. But we're waiting in line, and he gets to the table, and he's like, oh, I guess I gotta joking. He's like, I gotta sing for my supper. So he stood up on his chair and he did the whole like, I am the night, I am like dark justice, and he's like, I'm Batman. And I think, I don't know, I had a heart attack, I cried, everything all at the same time. And I was just like, I saw the man say it like live, and it was just brought me to tears kind of thing. And I was like, all right, cool, like I could die happy now. I don't have to,
right.
I don't have to marry you. I saw Batman say it live.
I think people are really surprised at themselves and at the way that they react when things happen like that. And it's just like, you're probably like at that time, like, late 20s, mid 20s, and you're, like, I'm a man's man. And then you see that you're like, and he's probably looking at you like, this one's going to cry too. Like,
yeah. Like this guy who's all 6'1" of him is going to tear up and cry like a baby.
Dude, honestly, and maybe it's because like, since I started doing some cons and hosting panels, but like I'm not really nervous around a lot of celebrities, except like I remember them, and maybe it's because I'm trying to learn from this one moment that with JDF, I completely froze up, just couldn't talk, just didn't like. words were not happening. You know what I mean? I remember it was
Yeah.
kind of like my wife was like, say hi. Like,
Say hi.
And
Yeah,
so, but
go ahead. You first, sir.
no, I was just saying, like, yeah, but it's just one of those things. Like, it's really surprising when you try to, like, you have all these things you want to say, and you're like, and you
Yeah.
kind of just, you're like, remember, they're just people, and you get up there, and you're just like, nothing, like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I met JDF the first time I met him. He actually came up to the radio station I was working at and did a tattoo on a guy I was working with. It was, yeah. So there was like, we were doing some tattoo challenge. So there was already a tattoo artist there, and they were interviewing him, talking about the con he was going to be at in town. And they brought the guy in that was my assistant producer with me. And he's like, hey, this dude's a massive U fan. He's got the Power Rangers, the lightning bolt tattooed on his arm. And JDF's like, bro, like, I'll tattoo my signature on you. So it's one of those things where like that was my first like a physical introduction to JDF. Was I saw this guy that was on my screen as a child, like tattooing one of the dudes I worked with, like his just on a Thursday morning kind of thing. I was like, this is wild. And yeah, you're right, they're real people.
That's awesome. That's a good story though. Not a lot of people can say they saw that.
Yeah, that's what I saw JDF was, and then I was like, hey bro, can I get your picture? Like, yeah.
So, did you get to see the Acolyte yet? Or
I haven't yet. I've had it spoiled, but I have my thoughts overall on the series. But I guess I'll let you kind of your opinion on it since you got to see it in the theater, right?
Yeah, I got to see it in the theater. I must be honest about the double episode premiere. It was neither a bad start nor a good start overall for me, but I love Michael Abel's musical score. I also love Mandela Steinberg's performance as Osha and May, and Isha Lee Jung Jae's performance as Soul, and Carrie On's performance as Indara. I think he had a third one here. However, in my honest opinion, Indara getting killed off was a creative abomination of some sorts. And then, okay, so I completely forgot about Silver Surfer. I remember seeing a couple of episodes of Fox Kids. Yeah, I don't think it had more than a couple episodes. So I saw it in theaters, and I had maybe seen one trailer, and for some reason, like, it just wasn't like on my radar. And I knew it was coming out, right? Because I remember General Kenobi for Jose has said that it was coming out after X-Men 97 finished, right? And after Bad Batch, the final season finished. And I didn't watch one episode of the final season. I heard like it was probably okay that I didn't. But I didn't know like there was this whole like hate for it already pre-installed to the show because of the creators and I guess interviews that they've done. And I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in it. Basically it got it's a woke show, so it's getting that treatment for it. So when I went into the show, I didn't know all that stuff. I didn't know this until later, after I had already made a review for this show and like posted it and everything. What actually I came on to that is because I was General Kenobi's review went on, and he was like, dude, I'm getting some like crazy comments. And like he got a comment where someone said, oh, they're getting like or they're getting people, because Jose is he's Mexican American and he speaks Spanish is his first language. They're like making fun of him and like in his English in the comments and calling him woke, and they're doing like his comments were like horrible. And I was like, what is going on? And so I made the video, and I didn't even get to promo it until on Facebook the next day, because no one's gonna check a Facebook post at 1 a.m, right? So like then I started to see the comments on my Facebook was like just like, and some guy was like, how much did they pay you? How much did Disney pay you? And I was like, dude, I freaking wish, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I was in that situation. But as far as the show, my initial thoughts was like, I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was refreshing. I loved, obviously, people love seeing Jedi in Star Wars. I was to say Power Rangers, could be similar, but like Jedi and Star Wars sells, right? Like it does well, and I was really happy to see things happen away from the Skywalkers and like sort of getting these new original characters. And I understood what I saw was like a beginning of like even though I was in a theater and they were almost treating it like a movie. Like I understand like these were just very small parts of an overall picture, so I was okay with it. There were some things was like that I wasn't really sure about, and they weren't like, I know again it was small parts, was like, they weren't explaining why May wasn't like really attacking first, even though she's supposed to be dark side and relish in power. Like it doesn't want to make any sense for me. So those are some things I want to come back from. But I guess what were your, I know what you said you got spoiled free, but what were your thoughts on it?
So first off, I mean, it was already spoiled here in your comments, but the fact that they kill off Carrie Ann Moss, I was like, come on, man, that's Trinity. Like,
yeah,
I was so excited to see her in something else, you know, because I feel like she hasn't really been in too much outside of obviously The Matrix.
Yeah.
But she's not a bad actress, so it's like I was really excited. I get hyped for, like, I don't know, castings like that. So I was really excited to see her character grow, but obviously I don't have to worry about too much growth.
So I think one thing about that is that we're going to see a lot of backstory. So I think
good. Okay.
That's where we're going to see her there. And it kind of reminded me of Watchmen. You know, where they kill the comedian like right in the first, you know, 5 minutes.
And then go through the rest of the movie and showing why he's
almost
like
all about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was getting that vibes because they were already kind of getting ready, like they were showing flashes of past. And we've seen a lot of trailers of like what happened back then. And they were talking a lot about that in the first 2 episodes, like of what happened and stuff like that. So I really think we're gonna see. I don't think we're gonna see a lot more of her, but we're gonna see more of her, and like it's gonna be sort of a lasting effect, is what I'm getting out of it.
I love Star Wars. It's not my favorite fandom. I will say, you know, I apologize to anybody here in your chat if you are a true Star Wars fan, but Star Wars is probably one of the most toxic fandoms in the world.
It is.
Yeah. And it sucks. You know, your astronaut ranger saying here, just enjoy the media. If you do, if you don't, that's fine, but don't attack somebody. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Just watch the show. If you don't like it, don't. But I like to see other things outside of the Skywalker saga. So that's why I'm looking forward to this. Just like I love The Mandalorian. Book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett's always been the character I've always enjoyed, so I like seeing that story. But to me, this will scratch the Knights of the Old Republic itch without actually going into the Knights, without having to do it. So that's what I'm looking forward to the show, is that I get to see old Jedi, you know, the before anything like that. So that's what I'm looking forward to when I probably watch it tonight. But
I think what I like about it is that we're not, you know, the thing about like Andor and Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian is like we're within these confines, right, of things that have to happen, you know, around them. So, you know, in Mandalorian, like we know, like, you know, the Empire's done, but we know the First Order is on the way back up.
Right.
And we're starting to see that a lot in the Mandalorian seasons. You know, in Andor, the creation of the Death Star is clearly what's going on. The thing I like about the Acolyte is like we're separating ourselves from all those events. So it's now like we get to do like, you know, they're not like confined within these parameters of everything that happened within the saga. So that's why like I think I enjoyed it more, is because I've always wanted to see on screen, you know, just more going on around. Even like I remember enjoying Clone Wars a lot more because there was just so much side stuff going on in Clone Wars that weren't necessarily like important to the overall saga, right? And those are some of the things that people would remember, and Rebels as well, right? But like I think with this, they can show a lot more, because this is like peak Jedi, right? This is when the Jedi, I feel like, are at full power, because they even talk about like in the early episodes, like when are we going to talk about when, like, you know, we're not at full power anymore? When are we going to admit that to the other people? You know what I mean? They're like, never. And this is like when they're still in full power. And you know, I know someone even commented like, Star Wars is not kung fu movies. I'm like, since when? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so I want to bring up that right there. I also have another point to make too, but what you just said, I saw recently online this whole week where everybody's complaining about a fire in space. I don't know if you saw that. So, and they're like, oh, it's not real, like science fiction. Star Wars has never been science fiction. Star Wars is a fantasy.
Star Wars is an opera.
Star Wars is a space opera, but it's a fantasy. Nothing about that is scientifically accurate.
No. I mean, they can move things with their mind.
Yes.
They can force jump.
You got Liam Neeson talking about midichlorians in your blood. Like, come on. Like, but where was the hate when R2D2 lit battle droids on fire in, you know, a space vacuum? Like, it's one of those things where
that's true.
Dude, I was gonna say, where was the hate when the Death Star blew up in a giant fireworks style explosion in space? And that was in the 70s. Like, you know, it's one of those things where now it's a problem, but it hasn't been a problem for the last 40 years.
It's like those old clerks conversations that they're having inside the store, like, you know, or it was like, you know, when are we going to address that Luke Skywalker is a mass murderer? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You
Um,
know,
I
but
mean,
the
for
other,
me, I really just want to see. I want to see where it goes. The thing about Star Wars shows that they always start strong. I feel like this started strong, right? I
uh-huh,
feel like they always start strong and just end, just like taper off. At the end. Whether it be maybe Mandalorian season 1 and 2 are the exceptions to that.
uh-huh,
More so season 2, obviously, but like Ahsoka started strong, kind of like tapered off. Andor had its really good like points. Like that was a really well written show, but it was like for a Star Wars show is boring. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there was a lot. There's a lot with these shows that they start off real strong and they don't kind of land at the end. But I guess we'll see from this one. I'm not out there calling this like the next Empire or anything. The first 2 episodes were good. Could have been
yeah,
better,
yeah,
but they weren't bad at all. I enjoyed it. I had fun. And I'm curious where it's gonna go, and that's kind
yeah.
of where it goes. I know a lot of people are talking about it being like, if we're gonna see Darth Plagueis or anything like that, and I don't know. I think, like you said, like I want to stay without the confines of the
Absolutely.
saga.
And that's what the point I wanted to make is that you mentioned how they talk about, oh, are we at full power? No. To me, and my favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One, because it was a bunch of characters you didn't know. Yeah, it was this a setting was similar to the thing,
Yeah,
but there was a point where I looked at Ali, because we went and saw it together, like 3/4 of the way through the movie, and I was like, nobody survives this. None of
yeah,
these characters are in the show or in the
yeah,
movies. It's like
yeah,
they all die.
yeah.
But it was the realization I had where I was like, oh crap. I'm sorry, I don't want to cuss on your stream, so that's why I'm censoring myself. But it was one of those things where I feel like the Acolyte has the potential to do that, where it's characters nobody's ever heard of,
Yeah.
and you can literally Game of Thrones it. Obviously, how you kill off Carrie Ann Moss within the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Um, that was also another thing. So I got to go off on tangents if you haven't told or haven't told. Uh, my first episode of Game of Thrones I watched was right when Sean Bean was getting his head chopped off.
Really?
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I
my
never
first episode was.
the part when the siblings are having alone time.
No, it's Red Wedding.
Oh, the red wedding. Ooh,
It was my
see,
first
you're with
episode.
me. Yeah, yeah. But my thing was, I he was on the cover, right? He was on all the promotional materials, and homie's getting
Yeah.
his head chopped off. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to watch the show. I was like, you just killed off like the main character. I didn't watch the show until I started dating Allie, and it was so funny because I took her to the Game of Thrones concert experience before I watched any of like the Red Wedding or when Cersei blows up the yes Mighty Morphin DJ. That's what Sean Bean does. He dies in everything. But before I had seen any of like the most serious parts of the show, so the Red Wedding comes on. They start playing the Reigns of Cashmere, and everybody around us is crying. And I was like, "What's going on?" And she looked at me. She goes, "Just shut up and watch." And they're
Oh
showing
my
it on
god.
the screen
Yeah.
while they're playing it. So I got to see the Red Wedding at like the Frost Bank Center with like 10,000 other people all bawling their eyes out.
Oh my
And I'm just
gosh,
like,
dude.
"Oh my god, is this the show? Like this is insane."
Oh my god, dude. I watched the Red Wedding, but I was never like really into it. And then I think I started watching like the last 2 seasons, and then I just never went back and watched the other stuff. I remember someone explaining to me that because they were watching the first. I had never watched the first season. So I was with someone at the time that was watching the first season, and then she came out and she's like, "They just killed the main character of the show," and I was like, "What?" And she was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And so, what actually the reason I went back is I had gallbladder surgery, and my boss like literally took away my phone and my work computer and stuff, and was like, "You need to heal." And so like I was not sleeping well, so I just like stayed up and watched like I watched the whole series like within like maybe a week and a half, and
Yeah.
just like pounded through it. And then I was with my wife at the time. My wife, she was still my girlfriend, and she was like, "That's not fair. Like we had to go through this for years, and you just like get through it, and then now the final season is gonna start, and you're just like here for
And
it."
you're already caught
And
up. Yeah, you're right
I'm
there.
already caught up, and
Yeah.
she was like, "No, you didn't get to like suffer like we did. That's not fair." And
Yeah.
I think it's funny, but I remember when the baby was born, like, so a lot of you guys know, and Astronaut Ranger Stan knows. feedings every 3 hours. So, and then putting her back to sleep in the whole process. So me and my daughter rewatched the entire Game of Thrones when she doesn't know she watched it, but she watched it. But we
You
watched
loved
that
it.
whole
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I just rewatched it, and then guess what started right after that? House of the Dragon started.
House of the Dragon. There
So
you go.
I was like all fully immersed in it, which is coming back this Sunday. And guys, before we get to that, next Sunday we are having a special guest on the stream. I know a lot of you guys have seen the promos for it, but Tammy will be joining us, Tammy Frank, next week for a special stream. I will be missing the live premiere of House of the Dragon season 2, but this is for a good reason. We got Tammy Frank. She'll be coming on the stream. For those that are here and those that are watching the replay, it's going to be, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Obviously we see the JDF Legend logo there, her foundation. We're going to talk about, the struggle she's gone through, life and everything that she's trying to do right now, especially her recovery as well, or her recovery from everything that's happened to her. But there will also be a special announcement coming up on that stream regarding something really cool that is going to happen that I can't spoil too much because I don't have a graphic yet. So I want to show you the graphic when that comes up. But you guys want to be there and especially if you guys are JDF fans, you want to be there as well because something big is coming. So, I don't know why I get to announce it on my stream because it's crazy. And I never thought in a million years this would be my life, but it is. So guys, next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Tyler knows what it is because he knows everybody and he probably knew before I did. So
I'm not spoiling it, but I will say that it is something that I wish a lot more places would do.
It's going to be crazy.
It's awesome.
It's going to definitely bring in a new aspect to things that me and you are working on. So and we're going to be able to get to enjoy what's going to happen as well. So be there next Sunday for that. Then lastly, just because I know you messaged me after I put the trailer reaction on there, what did you think about the last or the Venom trailer for The Last Dance?
It's Venom. It's been a strange ride, man. Venom has been a strange movie ride.
It's funny, like I don't think these movies are particularly bad. They're just not particularly great either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. It's so awesome. It's so great seeing him struggle with like the Venom symbiote in it. It's amazing. But they started off super rocky with I forget the guy's name who was the villain in the first one, but he was the guy that was in I can't think of his name. Great actor.
He was in Rogue One.
Yeah, he was in Rogue One. But he was like calling them like symbiotes or something like that. And we're like, oh no, don't start.
I think it's just like every movie's been the same. You know what I mean? It's just a different color. And even Carnage,
it's different symbiote colors, sure.
But really, it's really what it is. It's just a different color. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think them not being able to utilize Spider-Man just really has hurt this franchise or hurt this trilogy. I'm kind of glad to see it end. I'm sorry that Tom Hardy was wasted on it at the same time.
I don't know if he was wasted because he got to do his own thing. I feel like I've said this about Jason Momoa in a lot of movies where it's like Jason Momoa doesn't have a costume designer. He just brings what he was wearing that day. And I feel like they kind of like saw Tom Hardy's performance in the first one and was like, all right, man, like this is you. Like just own this. So but maybe he was wasted a bit, but
I mean, like I feel like people are gonna remember like those Venom movies happen, but they're not really gonna remember what happened in the movies. That's what I think is, and it's because it's this association with Spider-Man. I feel like if it had started off with involving Spider-Man and then not degenerated, but like gone off into its own story of its own, it would have standed stronger. But because they were very adamant that Spider-Man cannot be involved for whatever contractual reasons, they did it. I have to say, like every Venom movie that I've gone to, the theater's been full. Lots of people there. No one's booing. No one's really clapping either. But like they just sort of like happened. I think Let Be Carnage kind of disappointed me because like that character can be so freaking ruthless, and I felt
Yeah,
like the symbiote was more ruthless than
the
Cassidy.
fact that the fact that they made that PG-13, I already
Yeah,
knew it wasn't going to live up, or it was not necessarily live up, but it
yeah,
wasn't going to do Carnage justice, because Carnage is definitely one of the more graphic R-rated villains of the Marvel universe.
yeah.
I think Woody Harrelson was, I mean, he was a
Good
I,
choice for it. Yeah,
he was a good choice for it, but he wasn't my first choice. I would have picked
yeah.
Michael C. Hall or Cillian Murphy.
Oh, Michael C. Hall would have been interesting.
Michael C. Hall would have been good. I feel like somebody watched Natural Born Killers recently and then was like, "Oh, that's who our Cletus Cassidy has to be." So it was
That's
one of those things. Yeah,
I mean, Woody Harrelson can play a villain, though.
he
That's the thing.
can.
Like he can play on Hinge. That's the thing. So
He,
you're probably right.
yeah, he can. But that's what I feel like. Somebody in that room, like the casting department, was like, "Yo, I just saw this really crazy movie the other day called Natural Born Killers. This is who we need to get as Carnage." And it was like,
I think I'd rather see Garfield.
"No,
Uh,
don't support Chris Pratt."
oh my
No,
god.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I feel like so in the comics, like he's really comparable to like imagine if Joker had a little bit more sanity, but a way more power. That's what he is in the comics, you know, and
Yeah,
like so much so like there's always that iconic image of Sentry ripping Carnage a half. Carnage just recently went and did the same thing to to the Sentry. He got pissed that that happened to him, so he went and
yeah.
got the Sentry and ripped him off in half in space. Like that's Carnage. You know what I mean? Like just like total like completely just insane, like crazy. And I think I don't know. I think that movie could have been a lot better. I don't
Oh
really
yeah.
know. You know, obviously they had some ties to this that we saw. Like the lizard was going to be in this movie. Um, we
Well,
got
the
a
fact.
symbiote horse, which I guess was cool, like kind of like Ghost Rider ish. But
Oh god. But like the fact is that at the end of I don't know, Spider-Man Home School, the last home one, Far From Home, No Way Home,
No Way Home, yeah,
No Way Home, where how they had at the end of credits where Venom got sucked back into his own world and they left a
yeah,
piece of the symbiote. Well, in this one, they retconned that in the trailer where they had I forget the actor's name, but he just came and basically captured the symbiote
yeah.
from the bartender in Mexico, who is my favorite character on Ted Lasso. Denny
Oh yeah,
Riojas,
yeah,
football is life. So I was like, yeah, there we go. I was
yeah.
like, I want to see him as a symbiote. Um,
Oh yeah.
but like the fact is like, okay, so where does this movie take place? Is this obviously not in the MCU, or is this guy able to time a universe jump and go capture Venom in the MCU and then go back into the
We got a
Sony
TVA
universe?
now. I mean, they
Yeah.
can just kind of throw that in there whenever they want, sort of thing. I feel like it was just like that may have been just a tool just to lead up to No Way Home to bring up more hype for it, and
Yeah.
maybe that's it. But like,
And
it didn't really need it.
then even this the sorry excuse where they're like, oh, somehow Venom is connected through all universes and he remembers being attached to Tobey Maguire back in 2000, 2006 or 2004. And I was like, that's reaching a lot, man. Like,
Yeah. So
so
this is an interesting comment because I kind of wonder if this will be leading up to Null. The trailer almost feels like it could be going that way. I mean, they've kind of already had teasers for Null in Eternals. Like
yeah.
Eternals, that black sword is Null's sword. So, like, I forget what it's called, the Necromancer sword or something like that. But
You're talking about
um,
the sword that Jon Snow picked up at the end?
yeah,
Well, that's the
that's the
Black
Black
Knight
Knight sword.
sword. Yeah, the
But
Black Knight sword.
that one is tied to Null as
Yeah, to
well.
know as
And
well,
but
right?
also, what's his name? Christian Bale's character
Oh, Gore, the God
in
Butcher.
Gore, he is
Yeah,
also connected to Null as well with his sword. So
yeah. He
like
was very
there's that
underutilized in
is
that
Null's
movie.
sword actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've had things kind of coming up for Null. Null would be a great choice. I don't want to see Null wasted in these Spider-Man list movies again. So Null
Well,
would have been a great thing. Like you had started with Venom versus Spider-Man, and then you
yeah,
lead up to Venom goes on his way to Null.
yeah.
If Null's the end game here, I'm like, it's not gonna be what we want. That's the thing. So, what new Venom and better last one?
So
Go ahead.
my biggest complaint with the Venom movies has been, and it is the smallest thing, man, but it is the thing that matters most, and a lot of people overlook it. So in the very first movie, they talk about how Eddie Brock was this respected journalist in New York, and
Mhm.
something happened, and he had to leave. Later in that movie, they show him, and he's even wearing it in this trailer, a Golden State Warriors t-shirt. Now, my family's from the East Coast, and the one thing that they are more religious about than anything is their sports teams. So you cannot tell me that a band moved from New York City and to the East Coast, the West Coast, and is not wearing a Knicks t-shirt. That is the one thing. Like, there is no universe that I believe that man has Golden State merchandise in his wardrobe at all.
You heard it here first, guys. Venom is not believable because he's wearing their own shirt.
That's right. And I will die on this hill. My dad, I was going to say, my dad raised me as a Red Sox fan, and I will never wear a New York Yankees hat till the day I die.
Well, yeah. I was like, I'm a Cowboys, so I don't
see, you're with me, man. Yeah. But see, whatever the Cat, she said the same thing right there.
Send it straight to DVD. Facts. Let's go, Knicks. Oh, here we go.
See, I'm not wrong.
Oh my God, you guys are all
I'm not wrong.
Heart. You're all breaking my heart. All right, guys. I think we've been on for an hour and a half. It's so easy talking to Tyler. We literally, every time I'm hanging around with him, we talk, and it's been like an hour, and we don't realize it. So, appreciate you coming on today. We will probably have you back on. Probably have Allie back on. Maybe we'll do a double stream next time and have you just both back on and see how that goes. And maybe we can find
right here something. If you want to say hi.
Oh, she wants to say hi. I'm sure the chat loves Allie B. What was that one? I think one of them reached out to her. There he is. There's Allie B. She's voiceless now, but she's Allie B. Let's also say roll tide.
She's tired. She's tired from Yumicon.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So we are at the end of our stream. I want to remind everybody, guys, more Phenomenals coming up August 10th through 11th here in San Antonio, Texas, at the Wonderland Mall of Americas. Their headliner guest will be Shiro Uzumi. Oh, I got to get that right before then. Absolutely. But who you guys know? I got 2 months. Who you guys know as Dragon Ranger Burai from Jew Ranger. And they will also have Riku Chiba, who it will be Mei from Terra Ranger, from the Terra Ranger from Jew Ranger as well. They also have right now, as that is being announced, of Steve Cardenas, Catherine Sutherland, Nakia Burris, and Selwyn Ward. So this is kind of like one of those kind of crazy lineups when you add Burai and May as well. Yeah. There will be one announcement that we know for sure that is happening next week here on the stream with Tammy Frank. So make sure you guys hear as well. Real quick before we sign off, I want to say thank you to a couple of people. We got Maddie, Mid-Tennessee Geek, Mighty Boy from DJ. Appreciate you being on, man. I know you were super busy. Milady Cat, we got Noel, Astronaut Ranger saying, make sure you get some sleep. I know that baby is exhausting you, man. James Henley, Classic by Candice, MMPR mom Tanya is here as well from Australia. Sentai Ranger Donnie, I thank you for being here. I know you already signed off because you had to go to bed. We got, oh my God, we got so many people going straight. We got Wanda, of course, Nick Tillett. Thank you guys for all being here. Patrick Sky, thank you for jumping in. The most famous Power Ranger cosplayer of all time. Hero Mode Podcast, thanks for jumping in. Message us. I think you said something about us being on your podcast. Just let us know. Ranger I'm Restoration down. Repair. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, man. I know you can talk to you.
Yeah,
you got really. You should start your own podcast. You might as well, dude.
We had a podcast. Our internet sucks, but we'll get into. Last thing I'd like to say is, how about them Celtics up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks? Boston.
It's funny because I'm from San Antonio, as you know, and we're always Spurs, but Mavs, if they get in and we're not there, we kind of root for the Mavs. So
yeah,
that kind of hurts. But all right, guys, I want to thank everyone for being here. I appreciate y'all being here. I'll see y'all next week with the live stream with Tammy. And y'all know what time it is. Tyler, say it.
It's morphin' time.
There you go. See y'all later, guys.